The transport ship docked with a soft hiss that made 8-year-old Jiho press his face harder against the window. Outside, the Galactic Coalition station stretched in every direction, a massive wheel spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Lights blinked across its surface like stars that had gotten lost and settled there instead. "We're really here," Jiho whispered. His breath fogged the glass. Behind him, 7-year-old Nari bounced on her toes. "Can we go out now? Can we? I want to see the aliens." "Not yet," said Jiho's father, Ambassador Taman. He adjusted his formal jacket and smiled at the 4 children gathered near the window. "Remember what we talked about. This is the first time the Coalition has allowed human families to live on the station. We need to make a good impression." 9-year-old Day nodded seriously. He always listened carefully to the adults. "We'll be respectful, Ambassador." 6-year-old Yuna tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Will the aliens be scary?" "No, sweetheart," Commander Hana said. She was Nari's mother and the human military representative. "They'll just be different, and some of them might think you're a little scary too." Jiho spun around. "Us? Why would they think we're scary?" Taman crouched down to eye level with the children. "Because humans are new here. The other species have been traveling through space for thousands of years. We only joined them 6 months ago. They don't understand us yet." "But we're nice," Nari protested. "We know that," Taman said. "They'll learn it too. That's why we're here." The airlock opened with a whoosh. Cool air rushed in, carrying strange smells. Sweet like flowers, but also sharp like metal. Jiho's nose wrinkled. He took his father's hand as they stepped into the station. The corridor was huge. The ceiling stretched up so high that Jiho had to bend his head back to see it. The walls glowed with soft blue light. But what made all 4 children stop and stare were the beings walking past them. A creature that looked like it was made of blue glass floated by. Light sparkled through its body. It turned what might have been a head toward them and made a sound like wind chimes. "Wow," Yuna breathed. Something with 6 legs and shimmering purple skin scuttled past, its multiple eyes blinking at different times. A being that seemed to be made entirely of water, held in a clear suit, waved a liquid tendril at them. The children waved back. "This way," said a clicking voice. They all turned. Standing before them was the strangest creature yet. It stood on 4 legs, but had 6 more arms coming from its upper body. Its head was triangular, with huge multifaceted eyes that seemed to see in all directions at once. Its shell was dark green and looked hard as stone. "I am Commander Velthar," the being said. Its mouth parts clicked and clacked, but somehow the words came out perfectly clear. "Welcome to Coalition Station. I will show you to your quarters." Velthar led them through corridor after corridor. The children walked in a tight group, trying to look at everything at once. Aliens of every shape and size moved past them. Some stopped to stare, others hurried away as if frightened. "Why do they look at us like that?" Jiho whispered to Day. "Maybe they've never seen humans before," Day whispered back. Their quarters were in a section marked with human symbols. The doors slid open to reveal rooms that looked almost normal. There were beds and chairs and tables. But the walls could change color and the windows showed views of space that seemed too clear to be real. "These will be your homes for the next 6 months," Velthar explained. "Human families will stay in this corridor. The rest of the station is restricted." "Restricted?" Nari asked. "You mean we can't explore?" "The station has 40,000 residents of 117 different species," Velthar said. "It is too dangerous for human young to wander freely. You will remain here." After Velthar left, the children gathered in Jiho's family's quarters. They sat on the floor in a circle, faces long and disappointed. "This is boring," Nari said. "We came all the way to space just to sit in a room?" "It's not fair," Jiho agreed. There's a whole station out there full of aliens and cool stuff, and we're stuck here. Day looked thoughtful. Maybe if we show them we can behave, they'll let us out. How? Yuna asked. Before anyone could answer, the adults came in. Taemin had Jiho's mother and Day's father with him. They all looked excited. Good news, Taemin said. Commander Velthar has been watching you children. Are we in trouble? Jiho asked quickly. No. Actually, Velthar finds you interesting. The commander has been studying humans since we joined the coalition. Velthar wants to understand how human young behave. Like we're experiments? Nari frowned. More like you're ambassadors, Taemin said. You're the first human children most of these aliens have ever seen. Velthar has been observing how you play, how you interact. The commander has noticed that you're much more active than other species young. What do you mean? Day asked. Well, Taemin said, we watched the security footage from your time in the corridor today. In 1 hour, you children ran back and forth 47 times. You played 5 different games. You invented 3 new rules for tag. You never stopped moving. So, Jiho said, so most other species young spend their time in learning pods. They meditate. They study. They sit very still for hours. But you 4? You're like little tornadoes. The children looked at each other. They didn't think they were doing anything special. They were just being kids. The point is, Taemin continued, Velthar has made a proposal. The commander wants to give you limited access to certain parts of the station as a cultural exchange opportunity. All 4 children jumped to their feet at once, shouting with excitement. But, Taemin said loudly over the noise, you have to promise to be on your absolute best behavior. This is important. How you act will determine how the entire galaxy sees humanity. Do you understand? 4 heads nodded solemnly. We promise, Day said. The others echoed him. That night, Jiho lay in his bed looking out at the stars. His father sat beside him. Dad, Jiho said, why do the aliens act so weird around us? Taemin was quiet for a moment. They're not sure what to think of humans yet. We're different from them. We solve problems differently. We think differently. Some of them find that exciting. Others find it frightening. But we're not scary. No, Taemin agreed, but we're unpredictable. And to species that have been following the same rules for thousands of years, unpredictable can feel dangerous. So we need to show them we're safe? We need to show them we're human, Taemin said. And that being human is a good thing. Through his window, Jiho could see the curve of the station stretching away into darkness. Somewhere out there, 40,000 aliens were living their lives. And tomorrow, 4 human children would get their first chance to show them what humans were really like. Jiho smiled and closed his eyes. He couldn't wait. 2 weeks had passed since the human families arrived. The children had been allowed to visit the observation deck, the zero-gravity garden, and the cultural museum. But always with adults watching, always following strict rules. Jiho was starting to feel like a pet in a zoo. Then one morning, Commander Velthar arrived at their quarters with news. The Grand Unity Festival approaches, Velthar announced, standing in the common area where all the human families had gathered. Every species on this station will participate. It is our most sacred celebration. The children perked up. A festival sounded fun. There is a tradition, Velthar continued, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Before the festival, the young of all species perform the nest preparation ritual. They clean and prepare the cultural hall where the celebration will take place. It is considered a great honor. Like chores? Nari asked. Like service, Velthar corrected. The young show they are responsible. They show they care for the community. Every species does this. Taemin leaned forward. Are you asking if our children can participate? I am, Velthar said. Several of Velthar's eyes focused on the 4 children. I have observed human young for 2 weeks now. They are energetic, unpredictable, but they work together in interesting ways. I wish to see how they approach this task. We can do it, Jiho said immediately. We'll be really good, Yuna added. Day stood up straight. We understand it's important, Commander. We won't let you down. Velthar's antennae twitched. The gesture might have been approval or doubt. It was hard to tell. The other species young perform this task with great precision, Velthar said. The crystalline youth polish surfaces through resonance vibrations. The Aquarian juveniles filter all water systems. The vaporous younglings purify the air itself. Each species has its traditional method perfected over thousands of years. What would we do? Nari asked. You would clean the west wing of the cultural hall, Velthar said. There are decorative fountains, meditation gardens, and artistic displays. You would use standard cleaning equipment adapted for various species. The parents exchanged glances. Taman spoke quietly with Commander Hana and the other adults. Finally, he nodded. We would be honored, Taman said. This is exactly the kind of cultural exchange we hoped for. Excellent, Velthar said. Tomorrow morning, there will be a ceremony. The human young will be presented with their tools and given their assignment. Many will watch. After Velthar left, the adults gathered the children together. Listen carefully, Taman said, kneeling down. This is very important. Hundreds of aliens will be watching you. Some of them are still deciding if humans belong in the coalition. You need to show them we're responsible. We're trustworthy. Can you do that? Yes, sir, Day said. We promise, Jiho added. No running around, Commander Hana said. No playing games. Just focus on the cleaning. Stay together, Day's father added. Help each other. Be careful with the equipment. We will, Nari said. We'll make you proud. That night, Jiho couldn't sleep. He was excited, but also nervous. What if they messed up? What if they broke something? What if the aliens decided humans were too careless and sent them all back to Earth? The next morning, they dressed in matching blue jumpsuits that had been made specially for them. The 4 children walked with their parents through the station corridors. More aliens than usual watched them pass. Word had spread about the humans joining the ritual. The ceremony was held in the Grand Plaza near the Cultural Hall. Hundreds of aliens filled the space. Crystalline beings that sparkled in the light, floating creatures that seemed to have no solid form, giants that had to duck through doorways, tiny beings no bigger than Yuna's hand perched on special platforms. All of them were watching. The children stood in a line, trying not to fidget. Velthar stood before them on a raised platform. When the commander spoke, the sound was amplified through the entire plaza. We gather to witness the nest preparation ritual, Velthar announced. For the first time in Coalition history, human young will participate. They will join the proud tradition of all species, showing their dedication to community and order. Order. The word seemed to echo through the plaza. Velthar gestured with multiple arms. A floating platform approached carrying 4 sets of cleaning equipment. There were containers of different colored liquids, soft brushes and rough scrubbers, strange tools that hummed when touched, small sonic devices that vibrated at different frequencies. These are your instruments, Velthar said. Each has a purpose. Each must be used correctly. Do you accept this responsibility? Day stepped forward. As the oldest, he felt he should speak for them all. We accept, Commander. We'll do our best. We promise to work hard, Jiho added. And be really careful, Yuna said in her small voice. Nari just gave a serious salute that made some of the watching aliens make confused sounds. Then begin, Velthar said. The 4 children each took a set of equipment. It was heavier than it looked. They followed Velthar through the massive doors of the cultural hall. Behind them, they heard the murmur of hundreds of alien voices discussing what they'd just witnessed. The cultural hall was enormous. The ceiling arched high above, decorated with crystals that caught and reflected light. The floor was smooth as glass. Along the walls, displays from every coalition species showed their history and culture. It was the most beautiful place Jiho had ever seen. "This is the West Wing," Veltar said, leading them to a section filled with indoor gardens and fountains. "Clean everything. The fountains must sparkle. The garden paths must shine. The art displays must be dust-free. You have 4 hours." Veltar left them alone. The children stood in a small circle, looking around at the massive task before them. "Okay," Day said, trying to sound confident. "Let's make a plan. Jiho, you take the fountains. Nari, you handle the garden paths. Yuna, you dust the art displays. I'll work on the larger surfaces." "Got it," Jiho said. They separated, each heading to their assigned area. Jiho knelt by the nearest fountain. The water flowed in complex patterns, spilling from one crystal bowl to another. He opened his container of cleaning solution. It smelled sweet, like flowers after rain. He dipped his brush in and began scrubbing the crystal bowl. The solution foamed up immediately, bubbles forming across the surface. That was interesting. Jiho scrubbed harder. More bubbles appeared. He grinned. Across the room, Nari was examining her cleaning foam. The instructions were in a language she couldn't read, but there were pictures showing how to apply it to surfaces. She squeezed some onto the garden path. It expanded, growing larger and fluffier. She squeezed more. It expanded even bigger. "Whoa," she whispered. "That's so cool." Yuna stood on her tiptoes, trying to reach a tall art display. She couldn't quite make it. She looked around and spotted a small step platform. But when she tried to push it, it wouldn't move. "Day," she called. "I need help." Day hurried over. Together they pushed the platform into place, but Day bumped into a control panel on the wall. The fountains suddenly activated, sending jets of water high into the air. "Oh no," Day said, rushing to turn them off. The water splashed down, hitting Jiho and his bowl of cleaning solution. The solution mixed with the fountain water and began foaming even more, spilling out onto the floor. "It's okay," Jiho called. "I can clean it up." He tried to scoop up the foam, but his hands just made it spread further. Meanwhile, Nari's cleaning foam had expanded so much, it was now rolling across the floor like a soft, puffy cloud. And that's when things really started to get interesting. The foam was everywhere. It bubbled up from the floor in white and pink and blue clouds. Jiho stood in the middle of it, holding his brush, watching in amazement as the foam kept growing. He said. "I think I used too much." Nari ran over, her own foam rolling behind her like a friendly monster. "Mine won't stop either. What do we do?" Day was trying to turn off the fountains, but the controls were labeled in alien symbols. Every button he pressed seemed to make things worse. One fountain started spinning, another shot water sideways. A third made a musical tone that got higher and higher. "I can't make it stop," Day called out over the noise. Yuna was the only one still focused on her task. She stood on her platform, carefully dusting a crystal sculpture. She looked down at the chaos below and said calmly, "Maybe we should ask for help." "No," Day said. "We promised we could do this. We just need to figure it out." Jiho tried to scoop the foam into his bucket, but his hands just slipped through it. The foam was slippery. Really slippery. When he tried to step forward, his foot skidded. He windmilled his arms, trying to keep balance, but it was no use. He fell backward with a splash, landing in a pile of pink foam. It was soft, and actually kind of fun. "Are you okay?" Nari rushed over, but she hit the same slippery patch. Her feet went out from under her, and she slid across the floor, foam spraying up on both sides like she was surfing. Whoa! She laughed. She couldn't help it. The slide had been amazing. Day looked horrified. We're supposed to be cleaning, not playing. But then he stepped back to avoid the foam and bumped into the fountain controls again. Water sprayed directly at him, soaking him head to toe. He stood there dripping, his serious expression slowly cracking. A smile tugged at his lips. Then he started laughing too. Okay, he said, wiping water from his face. This isn't going according to plan. Yuna climbed down from her platform. She was the only one still dry. She looked at her 3 foam-covered, water-soaked friends and said, "You all look silly." "Come join us," Nari said, grinning. "The foam is really soft." "We should clean," Yuna said seriously. But she was smiling too. Jiho sat up in his pile of foam. "Wait, let's actually think about this. The foam is slippery, right? What if we use that?" "What do you mean?" Day asked. "Look at the floor under the foam," Jiho said. "It's shiny. I think the foam is actually cleaning it." They all looked. He was right. Where the foam had spread, the floor gleamed like new. It was shinier than anywhere else in the wing. "So we just need to spread it around evenly," Day said, understanding. "And then wipe it up." "But how do we spread it?" Nari asked. Jiho's eyes lit up. "Like this." He pushed a pile of foam with his hands, sliding it across the floor. It left a sparkling clean path behind it. "We can push it with our feet too," Nari said. She demonstrated using her shoe to guide foam across the floor in wide arcs. "I'll handle the fountains," Day said. "There has to be a way to turn them to normal." He went back to the control panel, this time examining it more carefully. Yuna found that the long-handled dusters could also push foam around efficiently. She might have been the smallest, but she was good at reaching places the others missed. For a while, they worked in organized chaos. Jiho discovered that if he mixed his blue cleaning solution with the pink foam, it made purple foam that cleaned even better. Nari found that the sonic tools could break up foam into smaller bubbles that were easier to spread into corners. Day finally figured out the fountain controls and set them to a gentle flow that actually helped rinse away excess foam. But then Jiho made a discovery. When he mixed blue solution with pink foam and added some of the green liquid from Nari's supplies, something unexpected happened. The foam turned into a rainbow, literally. Colors swirled through it like oil on water. "Guys, look at this," he called. They all gathered around. The rainbow foam sparkled in the light from the crystals above. "That's beautiful," Yuna whispered. "I wonder what else we can make," Nari said. Her eyes had that look that meant she was about to experiment. "We really should focus on cleaning," Day said, but even he sounded less certain now. "Just one quick test," Nari said. She grabbed 3 different containers and mixed them together. The resulting foam turned bright gold and rose up in a tower. "Whoa!" Jiho said. He mixed different solutions. His foam turned silver and spread out flat like a mirror. Yuna tried combining the sonic tool with the gold foam. It made a humming sound and formed into shapes. She created a foam cube, then a foam pyramid. "This is actually science," Nari said defensively when Dai gave her a look. "We're learning about chemical reactions." "We're supposed to be cleaning," Dai said, but then he mixed 2 solutions himself just to see what would happen. The foam turned crystal clear and seemed to float in the air for a moment before settling. They were so busy experimenting that they didn't notice how much foam had accumulated. The entire west wing was now filled with rainbow-colored gold, silver, and clear foam. It rose up to their knees in some places. The fountains, now running properly, created waves in the foam that rippled across the room. "Okay," Day said, looking around at what they'd created. "This might be a problem." "It's so pretty, though," Yuna said. The light from above reflected through all the different colored foams, creating a light show across the walls. Pretty isn't going to help when Commander Velthar comes back, Day said. We need to clean this up, really clean it this time. But the foam was so slippery now. Every time they tried to push it toward a drain, they slipped and slid. Jiho fell 3 more times. Nari went sliding across the room on her stomach, arms spread out like she was flying. Even careful Day lost his footing and ended up sitting in a pile of gold foam. Yuna, being the lightest, seemed to slide the farthest. She crossed the entire wing in one long slide, arms up in the air, laughing the whole way. "This is impossible," Day said, sitting in his foam pile. He was completely soaked now, covered head to toe in rainbow bubbles. His hair stuck up in strange angles where the foam had dried. "Maybe we can use the fountains to wash it away," Jiho suggested. He was lying on his back in the foam, too tired to get up. "Or we could use the sonic tools to break it all down," Nari offered. She was making foam angels on the floor. Yuna had found that the art displays were actually completely clean now. The foam had gotten on them accidentally, but it had removed every speck of dust. "At least the art is clean," she reported. They all lay there for a moment, surrounded by their beautiful, chaotic, foam-filled disaster. "We're in so much trouble," Day said. "Yeah," Jiho agreed. "Big trouble," Nari added. "The biggest trouble," Yuna said solemnly. Then they heard it, the sound of the main doors opening. Footsteps, multiple footsteps, heavy ones and light ones and clicking ones. Commander Velthar had returned. The 4 children scrambled to their feet as the doors slid open. They stood in a line, dripping with water and covered in rainbow foam. Jiho tried to wipe his face, but his hand was also covered in foam, so it didn't help much. Commander Velthar entered first, followed by several other aliens. Jiho recognized some from the ceremony. There was a tall, crystalline being that sparkled like a diamond. A floating aquarian in its water suit. Even a vaporous creature whose body seemed to shift and change shape constantly. Velthar stopped. All of the commander's eyes focused on the scene before them. The West Wing was a disaster. Foam covered everything, the floor, the fountains, the garden paths. 4 small humans stood in the middle of it all, looking guilty and scared. For a long moment, no one said anything. The silence felt heavy. Then Velthar's mandibles started clicking rapidly. The sound was harsh and sharp. The other aliens made various noises. Hisses, chimes, whistles. None of them sounded happy. "I'm sorry," Day said quickly. "We tried to clean, but the solutions mixed wrong and we didn't mean to make such a mess," Jiho added. "Please don't send us away," Yuna whispered. Her eyes were filling with tears. Velthar raised several arms for silence. The clicking stopped. "Wait here," the commander said. Then to the other aliens, "Come. We must convene the council immediately." They left. The doors slid shut behind them. The children stood alone in their foam-covered disaster. Nari started crying first, then Yuna. Even Day's eyes looked suspiciously wet. "I ruined everything," Jiho said miserably. "This is my fault. I mixed the solutions." "No, it's my fault," Nari said. "I made the foam expand too much." "I'm the oldest," Day said. "I should have kept us focused. I should have stopped the experiments." "We all did it together," Yuna said quietly. "That's what humans do, right? We work together." They sat down in the foam, not caring anymore. They'd failed. They'd embarrassed their parents. They'd probably made the aliens think all humans were careless and irresponsible. Maybe the coalition would decide humans shouldn't be members after all. Time passed slowly. The foam started to settle and dissolve. The children waited. Finally, the doors opened again. This time, their parents came through first. Ambassador Taman looked serious. Commander Hana had her arms crossed. The other parents looked worried. "Come with us," Taman said. His voice wasn't angry, but it wasn't happy either. They followed their parents through the station corridors. Aliens stopped to stare at the four foam-covered children. Some pointed, some made sounds that might have been laughter. The children kept their eyes down. They were led to a large chamber. Inside, dozens of aliens sat in circular rows around a central space. This was the Coalition Council, the important aliens who made decisions about everything. Commander Velthar stood in the center. "The human young will approach," the commander said. The children walked forward on shaky legs. They stood in the middle of the circle, surrounded by aliens on all sides. Jiho had never felt so small. "We have reviewed the security footage of your cleaning assignment," Velthar announced. "We have analyzed the results. We have discussed what we observed." "Here it comes," Jiho thought. "They're going to tell us we failed." "The council was concerned," Velthar continued. "When we checked on your progress, we found chaos. Foam everywhere, water running, 4 humans covered in cleaning solutions. It appeared you had failed catastrophically." The children hung their heads. "However," Velthar said, and something in the commander's voice changed. "We ran detailed scans of the West Wing. The results were unexpected." A holographic display appeared above them, showing the West Wing. Numbers and graphs floated in the air. "The cleaning purity is 99.7%, Velthar said. "This is the highest ever recorded in station history, higher than the crystalline youth achieved through resonance, higher than the Aquarian juveniles with their filtration, higher than any species has ever accomplished." The children looked up in shock. "Furthermore," Velthar continued, "you cleaned areas that adults of all species considered impossible to reach. The narrow spaces behind the fountains, the undersides of the garden platforms, the tops of the art displays. Places that have not been properly cleaned in years." The display showed before and after images. The difference was incredible. "You also repaired 3 fountain mechanisms that were malfunctioning. We did not even know they were broken. Your experimentation with the water pressure revealed and fixed the problems." "Wait," Day said carefully. "Are you saying we did good?" The Crystalline Council member spoke, its voice like bells. "You achieved the best results in our history while appearing to be completely chaotic. We do not understand how this is possible." The Aquarian bubbled through its translator. "Our young trained for weeks to perform the cleaning ritual correctly. You had no training, yet you succeeded beyond all our records." Velthar's antennae twitched. "This is what I have been trying to explain to the Council for weeks. Human young do not learn the way other species learn. You do not follow instructions perfectly. You do not train in established methods. You experiment. You adapt. You play while you work." "But we made such a mess," Nari said. "You made a mess of yourselves," Velthar said. "You were covered in foam and water. But the room is perfect. You achieved order through apparent chaos." Another council member spoke, a being that looked like living stone. "The energy readings show you worked 5 times harder than any other species young. You never stopped moving. Even when experimenting with the foam, you were testing solutions, discovering new methods, adapting your approach." "We watched you fail repeatedly," the vaporous being added. "You fell down. You made mistakes. But you never gave up. You learned from each error and tried something new." Velthar turned to address the entire council. "This is what I have been documenting. Humans evolved on what they call a death world. Their planet tried to kill them at every turn. They survived by being adaptable, by learning through trial and error, by turning obstacles into opportunities." The commander faced the children again. "You call yourselves children, but by your own species history you are hunter cubs, already training in the skills you will need as adults. The ability to work in chaotic environments, to adapt when plans fail, to learn by doing rather than by instruction." Taman stepped forward. Commander, what does this mean? It means, Velthar said, that humanity has much to teach the Coalition. We have become comfortable. We follow established patterns. We train our young in the old ways. But humans show us something different. They show us that chaos can be a tool, that disorder can lead to innovation. The council chamber filled with the sound of aliens discussing in their various languages. Some seemed excited, others uncertain, but none seemed angry. Velthar turned back to the children. You will be celebrated at the Unity Festival. Your cleaning adventure will be displayed as an example of human problem-solving. But we didn't mean to make it an adventure, Jiho said. We just kept messing up. Exactly, Velthar said, and if the commander could smile, Jiho thought this might be what it looked like. You kept messing up, and you kept trying new solutions. That is the human way. The night before the Unity Festival, Commander Velthar requested a private meeting with Ambassador Taman. They met in Velthar's office, a room filled with screens showing different parts of the station. I must be honest with you, Velthar said, settling onto the commander's rest platform. The cleaning assignment was a test. Taman nodded slowly. I suspected as much. When humanity joined the Coalition 6 months ago, many species were afraid, Velthar explained. You advanced so quickly. You went from primitive computers to faster-than-light travel in just 50 years. It took my species 3,000 years to achieve the same progress. We've always been fast learners, Taman said carefully. Fast learners, yes. Velthar's antennae twitched in what Taman had learned was the equivalent of a thoughtful expression, but also unpredictable, chaotic. Other species follow established patterns. Humans create new patterns constantly. This makes you powerful. It also makes you frightening. So you tested our children to see if we could be trusted? I tested them to understand you, Velthar corrected. I have been studying human history, your wars, your art, your science. Everything humans do follows the same pattern. You face a problem. You try a solution. It fails. You try another solution. That fails too. You keep trying until something works. You never give up. That's called persistence, Taman said. It is called survival instinct, Velthar replied. My species evolved on a peaceful world. Plenty of food, few predators. We learned through careful observation over generations. But humans? You evolved as hunters on a world that constantly tried to kill you. You had to learn fast or die. You had to adapt or perish. Velthar pulled up images of the children in the West Wing on the screens. The footage showed them slipping, falling, laughing, experimenting. Watch them carefully, Velthar said. They fail at almost every task. But notice how they fail. They fall down and immediately get back up. They make a mistake and try a different approach. They turn work into play and play into learning. They never stop moving, never stop trying, never stop adapting. Taman watched the screens. He saw his son Jiho fall in the foam for the 3rd time, then laugh and start pushing the foam intentionally. He saw Day struggle with the fountain controls, fail repeatedly, but keep trying until he understood the pattern. You call them children, Velthar continued. But by human evolutionary standards, they are hunter cubs, already training in the skills that let humanity survive. The 4 of them formed a pack without discussion. They split tasks naturally. When one failed, the others helped. When they discovered something new, they shared it immediately. This is not taught behavior. This is instinct. What are you saying, Commander? I am saying that the Coalition has been asking the wrong question. We asked, are humans safe to include in our society? We should have asked, what can humans teach us? Velthar stood and gestured to the screens. Look at what 4 untrained human children accomplished. They cleaned better than species with thousands of years of tradition. not through careful planning but through constant adaptation. They turned a disaster into innovation. They made a mess of themselves, Taman said with a slight smile. Exactly. Velthar's mandibles clicked excitedly. They cleaned themselves more than the floor. They got dirty. They got wet. They failed repeatedly, but the floor became perfect. This is the human way. You are willing to fail personally in order to succeed at the task. Other species try to avoid failure entirely. Taman considered this. So what now? Now, Velthar said, I present my findings to the Coalition. Humanity's chaos is not a flaw to be corrected. It is a strength to be respected. Your young teach us that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success, and that perhaps the Coalition has become too comfortable, too set in our ways. We need what humans bring. We need innovation. We need adaptation. We need the willingness to make a mess in pursuit of a goal. The Unity Festival arrived with great ceremony. The cultural hall was filled with representatives from every Coalition species. Banners hung from the ceiling. Music from 100 different worlds played in harmony. Food from countless planets filled long tables. The 4 children stood with their families, wearing clean, formal clothes. They'd been promised they would be honored, but they weren't sure what that meant. Commander Velthar stood at the center of the hall and called for attention. The crowd quieted. Today, we celebrate the unity of our coalition, Velthar announced. We honor all species and all contributions to our shared society. This year, we have a special recognition. The lights dimmed. Above them, a holographic display appeared. It showed the West Wing. Then it showed the children beginning their cleaning assignment, all serious and determined. The crowd watched as the holograms played out the entire adventure, the foam expanding, the water spraying, the children slipping and sliding, the rainbow experiments, the chaos and the laughter. But the display also showed the data, the cleanliness readings getting higher and higher, the hidden repairs being made, the impossible spaces being reached, the perfect results emerging from apparent disaster. When it finished, the hall was silent for a moment. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, an alien began to make a sound. Others joined in. It took the children a moment to realize what they were hearing. Applause, in hundreds of different forms. Clicks and whistles, chimes and hums. The vibration of crystals and the rushing of water, every species expressing approval in their own way. These 4 young humans, Velthar said, have taught us an important lesson. They showed us that there are many ways to solve problems, that failure can be a path to success, that joy and work can exist together, that sometimes the best way forward is to try something new, even if you might fall down. Jiho felt his father's hand on his shoulder. He looked up and saw tears in his father's eyes. Happy tears. We call them children, Velthar continued, but perhaps we should call them what they truly are. Hunter cubs, already training for a universe that will challenge them, already learning the skills that let humanity survive on a death world and reach the stars. The commander gestured to the 4 children. Approach, young ones. They walked forward nervously. Velthar presented each of them with a crystal pendant shaped like a star. These are coalition stars, Velthar explained, given only for exceptional service. You have shown us that being different is not a problem. It is a gift. You have shown us that humanity belongs in the coalition, not despite your chaos, but because of it. You have shown us that the universe still has much to teach us if we are willing to learn from those who see things differently. Yuna looked up at the towering alien commander. Does this mean we can explore more of the station? The crowd erupted in sounds that might have been laughter. Yes, Velthar said. Human families will now have full station access. We believe we have much to learn from watching you work and play and live. We are no longer afraid of human unpredictability. We are curious about it. After the ceremony, the four children sat together in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Their pendants glinted in the light. "We really did make a huge mess," Nari said. "The biggest mess," Jiho agreed. "But we cleaned the room perfectly," Dae pointed out. "We just cleaned ourselves more than the floor," Yuna added with a giggle. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, aliens passed by and stopped to greet them. A crystalline being played a musical tone of greeting. An Aquarian waved a tendril in friendship. Even species that had seemed frightened before now approached with curiosity. "Dad said something earlier," Jiho said. "He said that this is just the beginning. That we showed the aliens that humans are different, but now we have to show them what we can do when we work together." "Like the cleaning?" Nari asked. "Like everything," Dae said. "We're going to grow up in this station with all these different species. We're going to learn from them and they'll learn from us." "And sometimes we'll make messes," Yuna said. "Definitely," Jiho agreed with a grin. "But that's okay, because we'll clean up. We'll keep trying. We'll keep adapting. That's what humans do." "That's what hunter cubs do," Nari corrected. They all laughed at that. Far below, in the commander's office, Velthar was recording a final log entry about the incident. Conclusion: humanity's chaos is not a flaw. It is an evolutionary advantage. Their young do not fear failure because failure is how they learn. They do not follow established patterns because creating new patterns is their strength. They cleaned themselves more than the floor, not because they were careless, but because they were willing to get dirty to achieve perfection. This is the lesson of the hunter cubs. This is what humanity brings to the coalition: the willingness to fail, the courage to try again, and the joy of discovery. We are fortunate to have them among us. They will challenge us. They will surprise us. They will make messes. But they will also show us possibilities we never imagined. End log. The commander looked at the screens showing the four children in the observation deck, still covered in a few spots of foam they'd missed, still laughing, still being wonderfully, chaotically human. Velthar's mandibles clicked softly in satisfaction. The galaxy had just become much more interesting.